This is a Dynamite Network podcast.
Hey everyone, Marvelous Joe here at the top of the episode. With the approaching holiday season, we're officially underway with this year's holiday charity drive and lead up to our charity Duel episode in December, which is going to be Alfred Pennyworth versus Edwin Jarvis. This year, all donations will be going once again to Pop Culture Classroom, a nonprofit organization that delivers high-quality, all-inclusive educational resources to school districts, teachers, and community organizations using comics, graphic novels, and related pop culture media. Their mission is to inspire a love of learning, increase literacy, celebrate diversity, and build community through the tools of popular culture and the power of self-expression. To donate, visit our official store through dynamicduel.com, where you'll find two donation options. One if you're Team DC, and one if you're Team Marvel. Or you can go directly to dynamicduel.com/donatedc, one word, or dynamicduel.com/donatemarvel, which are linked in our show notes. We're making the charity drive a competitive duel this year, except the only stat that matters is which side can donate the most. Everyone who donates will receive a digital poster featuring original art of Alfred and Jarvis, drawn New Yorker style by Jonathan. One lucky random donor will win a framed print of the Alfred vs. Jarvis art that we'll announce during that December Duel episode. Which fan base will be the most charitable? We'll keep everyone posted as to which team is winning as donations come in during these upcoming episodes. As of right now, Marvel is ahead with 4 more donations than DC. So you gotta catch up, DC fans. On with the show.
Hi, welcome to the Dynamic Duel Podcast, a weekly show where we review superhero films and debate the superiority between Marvel and DC by comparing their characters in stat-based simulations. I'm Johnny DC.
And I'm his twin brother, Marvelous Joe.
And in this episode, we're doing a duel between DC's Enchantress and Marvel's Enchantress.
That's right, both Marvel and DC have a sorceress character named Enchantress. Obviously, the better one is going to be the Marvel version, but we're going to find out who'd win in a fight between these two characters by inputting their stats and running 1,000 simulated matches between them. I bet you Enchantress is going to win.
Oh, dude, Enchantress is totally going to stomp.
Yeah, she is. Yeah.
Now, of course, this episode was supposed to be a review of Loki Season 2, but because I'm going on a business trip this week, we're recording this episode early. And since I haven't seen all of Loki yet, we are doing a duel for right now. Next week, we'll review Loki Season 2.
Yeah, but this episode is a good tie-in to Loki Season 2 because the Enchantress, like Loki, is an Asgardian. Since we're recording this episode early, we're going to skip over the no prize and the news portions of this episode and jump straight into the duel. But before we do that, as our listeners may know, our duel simulator is so advanced that it's gained sentience and has named itself the artificial life form for running extensive duels, just a rather very intelligent simulator 9000, or Alfred Jarvis 9000. He has a quick message for our listeners, so listen up.
Why, hello there. Do you love listening and chatting about Marvel and DC? Then become a part of the Dynamic Duel community on Patreon, where you can choose from 3 tiers. The Dynamic 2.0 tier lets you listen to this podcast without ads and gives you access to its Discord chat group where you can chat with Johnny DC and Marvelous Joe. The Fantastic 4 tier gives you that and more with 2 bonus episodes each month, including bloopers and top 10 shows where Johnny and Joe count down your favorite Marvel and DC subjects. The X-Force tier makes you an executive producer of Dynamic Duel, where every month you help the host choose what to review and who to fight against each other. And finally, the Dynamite Podcast Network tier allows aspiring podcasters to create their own battle-focused show using this Monte Carlo simulator. Johnny and Joe will help you develop your show, provide graphic support and consultation, and get you simulation results to announce on your show. Pitch the twins your show via email at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com or by reaching out to them on social media. Check it out at patreon.com/dynamicduel. Pip pip cheerio.
Thanks, AJ9K, and thanks to everyone who supports the podcast. Be sure to tune into both the Max Destruction and Sanjo World podcast this week. We actually don't know what the episodes are going to be, but I guarantee you they're going to be awesome because the shows are awesome.
Yeah, every episode is a good time. And we're happy to announce now that we have another show joining the Dynamite Podcast Network. Starting in December, the show is going to be called Console Combat with K's. And in it, host John Starosky and his co-host Dean are going to be finding out who would win in a fight between two characters from your favorite video games. So look forward to that podcast, again, coming out starting in December. It's going to be a whole lot of fun. The Dynamite Podcast Network keeps growing with incredible shows beyond Dynamic Duel, where you can now hear battles between your favorite movie characters, anime characters, and video game characters.
Make sure to check out dynamicpodcasts.com or click the link in our show notes to listen to all of the shows in the Dynamite Podcast Network.
But with that out of the way,
on to the question of the week.
That's right, we're going with the same question of the week that we had from last episode, which is, what other characters from the Sandman universe do you hope to get their own series on Netflix? And this is coming off of the first trailer we received for the Dead Boy Detectives television show on Netflix. That question still stands for this week, so go ahead and record your answer at dynamicduel.com by clicking on the red microphone button in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen, which will prompt you to leave us a voicemail. Your message can be up to 30 seconds long, and don't forget to leave your name in case we include you on the podcast. We'll pick our favorite answer and award that person a Dynamic Duel No Prize that we'll post to Instagram and our email newsletter. Again, be sure to answer before November 25th.
But now let's move on to the main event of this episode, where we find out who's going to win in a matchup between the Sorceress, the Enchantress, against the Sorceress, the Enchantress. All right, Enchantress versus Enchantress. As we mentioned earlier, DC and Marvel both have characters named Enchantress who are sorcerers within their respective universes. I don't know much about Marvel's Enchantress. I just know that she's inferior to DC's.
No, because DC's Enchantress was in a shitty Suicide Squad movie.
Oh, you mean the Academy Award-winning Suicide Squad movie?
So stupid.
Were any of the Thor movies Academy Award-winning films? Did not think so.
I don't think so.
Exactly. Neither did I.
Marvel's Enchantress, though, has kind of made an appearance on the screen in the Loki television show because the second iteration of the character was named Sylvie. And so the Loki TV show Sylvie is kind of a riff on that version of the Enchantress. So it's real fitting that this episode is in tie-in to our Loki Season 2 review that's coming out next week.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I'm going to be going with the original version of the character who's an Asgardian named Amora.
I thought her name was Enchantress.
No!
Okay. Well, to explain the methodology behind our duels, let's go to our sentient duel simulator, Alfred Jarvis 9000. AJ9K, tell our listeners how you go about determining a winner in our duel matchups.
Yes, of course, sir. The way I determine a winner between the contestants is by running 1,000 Monte Carlo simulations using the character's statistics. A Monte Carlo simulation is a probabilistic model used to determine outcomes through random sampling. In this case, I randomize the statistics along a normal distribution as a way to simulate the many variables that can occur during battle. The stat parameters are based on the official Marvel power grid, from which the DC characters' statistics are extrapolated. Additional stat categories are included such as range, damage potential, versatility, and perception in order to create a more detailed and accurate simulation. The results of the 1,000 simulations provide a percentage of wins for each character. The contestant with the higher percentage is declared the victor, as they have a higher probability to win any given battle. In an equitable pairing, neither character should win 100% of the matches. The comic book stories have shown that there's even a way for Batman to defeat Superman, so the confidence rate of my method falls in line with the precedents that have been established in the source material. My mathematical simulations are without subjectivity or bias. Feats are not the sole consideration, nor are fan votes tabulated for determination of the winner.
Thanks, AJ9K. Before we run the simulations, though, we like to break down each character's histories and abilities before improvising a scenario on how we imagine one of the 1,000 simulations would play out, beat for beat.
And I believe it's my turn to go first with the DC character's backstory, so let me tell you all about Enchantress. June Moon was a timid freelance artist whose entire life was changed the fateful evening her boyfriend, Alan Dell, surprised her by bringing her to a costume party at an old, abandoned, and supposedly haunted castle, aptly named Terror Castle. Overwhelmed by the party and the supernatural forces within the castle, June snuck away to a secluded area and accidentally slipped through a secret panel in a wall. Trapped in a vast hidden chamber, she met a grotesque creature known as Zamor, who explained to June that fate had brought her there and that she was destined to be a powerful sorceress that could rid the castle of its evil. By speaking the word Enchantress, June transformed into a mystical witch and was able to defeat the evil forces haunting the castle. June became a superhero, transforming her blonde hair black and blue eyes green whenever she summoned her magical Enchantress alter ego, which was often to save the life of her boyfriend Alan, who found himself attracted to Enchantress, not realizing she was really June. Eventually, June got a full-time job at the New Athens Experimental School in Florida, where Linda Danvers, aka Supergirl, also worked. You can learn more about Supergirl in our Supergirl vs. Captain Marvel Duel episode. It was at New Athens that June stumbled upon Zamor once again, and the creature explained to June that soon the moon was going to align with a star that would allow June to gain omnipotent magical power and the potential to destroy all evil at the cost of also destroying all scientific laws that governed the universe. Deciding it was worth the risk, June attempted to gain the power, but Supergirl prevented her from doing so by moving the moon out of alignment. Whether it was due to Supergirl's misalignment of the heavenly bodies that affected June, or June's own frustration at being forced to fight a never-ending battle against evil, the Enchantress became corrupted and attempted to take over the world, forming a team known as the Forgotten Villains, though their plots were continually defeated by Supergirl and Superman. After the Crisis on Infinite Earths event, June sought penance for her actions as the Enchantress and volunteered for Amanda Waller's Task Force X, aka the Suicide Squad, which you can learn more about in our Team Duel episode, Suicide Squad vs. the Defenders. As various missions undertaken by the squad were completed, June stayed on with the team while others left, as Waller had promised to help her control the corrupted evil Enchantress entity that she believed now dwelled within her. June was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and the Enchantress seemingly became more and more powerful and volatile with each new mission, often forcing her teammates to subdue her while in the field. The field's team leader, Bronze Tiger, who you can learn more about in our Bronze Tiger vs. White Tiger episode, took June to see the ancient mystic Madame Xanadu, who explained to June that her lack of training had resulted in her aura succumbing to evil influences. June learned that if she stopped using magic, her aura would eventually heal, and Madame Xanadu gave June a necklace and ring that would help her suppress the evil within her, with the warning that Enchantress's magic would also build up over time and would likely be unstoppable if she ever emerged again. While aiding the Suicide Squad on a mission to the Nightshade dimension, June learned that the Enchantress was in fact a separate entity from another dimension known as Succubus, the sister of Incubus, who had conquered that dimension. Incubus ripped Succubus out of June's body, leaving her powerless, and June left the team soon after and eventually ended up in a mental institution. Succubus herself later escaped to Earth during the Day of Judgment storyline, only to seemingly be sacrificed by the warlock Sebastian Faust to reignite the fires of hell. In reality, however, Sebastian had merely captured Succubus, who later escaped and assumed the identity of Anita Solida. Faust was able to rebind Succubus to June, however, and when the Spectre attempted to destroy all magic, Enchantress was able to nearly defeat the Spectre by channeling magic from all magical beings on Earth, but the power proved to be too corrupting an influence for her, and she was forced to give it up. Once the Spectre was defeated, she joined the magic-based team known as Shadow Pact. In post-Flashpoint continuity, June's history remained largely the same, though in one of the Justice League's early adventures, they failed to stop the global chaos wrought by the Enchantress entity when she was exorcised from June Moon by Madame Xanadu. This resulted in the formation of the Justice League Dark Magic Team, who was forced to re-merge Enchantress with June in order to protect the world from the succubus's power. You can learn more about Justice League Dark in their Team Duel episode against the Midnight Suns. June later joined a new version of the Suicide Squad and was pivotal in stopping Superman with her magical powers during the Justice League vs. Suicide Squad run. Now, powers-wise, Enchantress is an entity of nearly limitless magical potential and regarded as one of the most dangerous mystical beings in existence. Her power is quelled only by her host, June Moon, who over the years has learned to channel the power of the Enchantress to transform and manipulate objects, often bringing them to life, and also transforming her own appearance or making herself intangible. She has telekinesis, can fly, can fire devastating blasts of magical energy, and generate magic-based constructs. She's also one of the foremost spellcasters, able to heal, teleport, cast illusions, and bind herself to other magic users, able to track them and even remotely sap or steal their powers. Her only weakness is actually using too much power, as it strengthens the evil succubus within her, who, when unleashed, is a nigh omnipotent reality warper. And that's Enchantress.
So, in the Suicide Squad movie, the Enchantress also had a brother. I forget what they named him in the film, but was that guy Incubus?
Yeah, that was Incubus.
Oh, interesting. I'm surprised he didn't jam out with like, whatever tomorrow brings, I'll be there.
Holy shit, that was awful. Never do that again. No one remembers that band, dude.
Great band.
No one remembers the band.
Incubus is timeless. I just have to say that. But let me go ahead and tell you about the backstory of the superior Enchantress in the Marvel Universe. Millennia ago, Amora was born in the realm of Asgard, one of the 9 realms of Norse mythology, and as the goddess of youth and fertility, grew to be renowned among the gods for her astonishing beauty. In her adolescence, she ran away to the land of the Norns and apprenticed under one of the most powerful sorceresses in all of the realms. Training in magic into adulthood, Amora proved to be an adept sorceress herself, using enchantments primarily to enhance her natural allure to influence others and developing a reputation as a seductress. Of all the Asgardian men she was able to manipulate, however, Thor Odinson, the god of thunder, was beyond her temptations. Driven to infatuation with Thor and obsessed with the challenge of conquering his heart, Amora was relentless in her pursuit of him, occasionally teaming up with Thor's brother Loki to try and break down the god of thunder's spirit. You can learn more about Thor and Loki in their respective duel episodes against Wonder Woman and Ares, respectively. Beyond scheming for Thor's affection, Amora deceived other fellow Asgardians, such as the beautiful Valkyrie, using her magic to trap her in a mystic crystal, a story you can learn more about in our Power Girl vs. Valkyrie duel episode. Chief among Amora's many suitors was the Asgardian named Scourge, the Executioner, who was madly in love with her and bowed to her every whim, despite his affections being unrequited. When Thor was banished to Earth by his father and fell in love with the mortal woman Jane Foster, a jealous Amora went to Earth and tried to seduce him. After getting spurned once again, Amora ordered Scourge to eliminate Jane Foster, but Thor stopped them and hurled the pair back to Asgard. From there, Amora and Scourge went on to join Baron Zemo's Masters of Evil supervillain team in order to beset the newly formed Avengers, of which Thor was a founding member. As a recurring villain for the Avengers, Amora eventually expanded her list of enemies to include some of Earth's other mightiest heroes, such as Hercules, whom she also became smitten with, and the Scarlet Witch, whom she considered her rival. Amora was one of the many villains and heroes abducted by the all-powerful entity called the Beyonder to take part in his grand morality experiment to see who would win in a battle between good and evil, known as the Secret Wars. On his patchwork planet called Battleworld, Amora found herself trapped alongside Thor, and the two finally shared an intimate encounter. Thor tried to convince Amora to leave the villains and join the side of good, but Amora shamefully declined, fearful of the consequences, but flirting with the idea of being a hero. With the secret wars over, Amora and Scourge fought alongside their fellow Asgardians to defend their home against the fire demon Surtur, preventing him from causing Ragnarok or the twilight of the Norse gods. The pair also defended the realm from the Asgardian goddess of death, Hela, though Scourge died in that battle. Amora later discovered her sister Lorelei had put a love spell on Thor, and she freed the hero from her sister's bewitchment. Seemingly over her infatuation with Thor, Amora grew close to Heimdall, who was the sentry of Asgard's rainbow bridge known as the Bifrost. Inspired by his nobility, she became a more unselfish figure and even fought against her former ally Loki, protecting Odin's throne. This wasn't meant to last, however, and Amora returned to her scheming ways after realizing Heimdall would always be more devoted to Asgard than to her, and she parted from him. After menacing Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme, she moved to Hollywood and became a movie star for a while, winning the hearts of men through her films. Amora tried to seduce fellow superhero actor Wonder Man, whom you can learn more about in his duel against Captain Atom, but she was unsuccessful. Eventually, Amora returned home and fell in battle with the rest of the Asgardians when Loki successfully fulfilled the Ragnarok prophecies and caused the destruction of the 9 realms. Amora was later restored to life along with the rest of her kind when Thor returned to Earth. Since Scourge was still dead, having fallen prior to Ragnarok, Amora magically attacked the world tree Yggdrasil in an effort to resurrect her old ally, having come to the realization how much he meant to her. Thor and Loki stopped her, however, convincing her that bringing Scourge back from Valhalla would only dishonor his death. Amora wasn't the only one meddling with the World Tree, however, as Hela sent most of the 9 realms to Hell after gaining the magical Twilight Sword. Amora teamed up with Thor to battle the Goddess of Death, helping him reunite with his hammer Mjolnir in order to win back the Twilight Sword, which Thor then entrusted to Heimdall. Later, Amora allied herself with the villainous dark elf Malekith, joining him in his war to take over the 9 realms. She journeyed to Alfheim using her magic to manipulate Queen Elsa of the Light Elves into marrying Malekith, and then she invaded the dwarven realm of Nidavellir alongside the rock troll Ulik. Eventually, the war came to Midgard, aka Earth's realm, and Amora took the continent of South America as her prize. After receiving a premonition of Captain Marvel and Doctor Strange coming to defeat her, she used a spell to swap the 2 heroes' bodies, though they were still able to defeat her, and Malekith's war was put to an end. Amora was then imprisoned beneath Asgard in the Root Dungeons before escaping back to Midgard. There, Amora clashed once again with Captain Marvel, who tried to get her help in defeating one of Amora's future sons. She then met with her estranged twin sons that she had had with an Asgardian palace guard that she seduced years ago, rescuing the boys, Eric and Alvi, from an evil wizard named Pulsari, who had kidnapped them as infants. And that's her backstory. Powers-wise, the Enchantress has the physiology of an Asgardian god, meaning she is strong enough to lift around 25 tons, has enhanced durability, speed, longevity, and healing, as well as enhanced senses. She is among Asgard's strongest sorcerers, just below the level of Loki, the god of mischief. Enchantress can cast all manner of magic spells for a variety of effects, including, but not limited to, shapeshifting, illusion casting, teleportation, matter transmutation, hypnosis, telepathy, telekinesis, and manipulation of magical energies such as magical blasts and shields. Though her specialty is in the art of magical seduction, able to enthrall others to do her bidding with a kiss, mere words, or even a glance. She is quite intelligent, often thinking up devious and manipulative schemes.
And?
That's it.
Okay, yeah, that's nothing. You got nothing. You're gonna lose. Good day, sir.
You stole fizzy lifting drinks.
I didn't realize Enchantress was so, kinky.
What?
Is this speculation gonna turn into some kind of, erotic fan fiction?
No, we can't let that happen like you tried to do with Catwoman and Hellcat and Poison Ivy and White Queen. All right? I'm not going to let that happen.
We'll see. We'll see where it goes. Hey guys, Johnny DC here to remind all of you that the holidays are fast approaching and that there's no better time than now to start shopping for gifts for your loved ones. And if one of those loved ones happens to be a fan of this podcast, odds are they'd love something from cufflinks.com, as it has a plethora of DC and Marvel men's fashion accessories such as cufflinks, money clips, and ties. We've teamed up with them this year again to get all of our fans 20% off the entire site by using the code DUEL20 at checkout. I recently got their new Batman Batmobile Black Men's Tie. It's a dark silk blend with pops of orange and light blue Batmobile glyphs and Batman logos. It's a slick design. I have a few other Batman ties, but this one is definitely my favorite, and I can't wait to wear it to the next business conference I attend, where I fully intend to use it as a conversation starter. Go to cufflinks.com, check out their Marvel and DC stuff, or Star Wars, Harry Potter, they have it all, and shop for the holidays using DUEL20 at checkout. Thanks, guys. But now that we've got their histories and abilities out of the way, let's speculate on how one of the 1,000 simulated matches will go. The winner is determined by simulations, not the speculation, but it's fun to imagine how this fight could play out. Alfred Jarvis 9000, what are the rules of our speculation?
Well, I should say there are no rules, other than the characters have no prior knowledge of the other going into the fight. All they are aware of starting out is that the other character is a threat that needs to be eliminated. For the speculation, the contestants will begin approximately 50 meters apart in a nondescript environment that will have no bearing on the match itself, as no environmental statistics are considered in my simulations. The contestants must earn victory on their own merit.
All right, then let's get into it. Enchantress and Enchantress meet on the battlefield. Who goes first?
Enchantress!
I think to just avoid confusion, I'm going to refer to Marvel's Enchantress as Amora for the purposes of the speculation, so we don't get confused.
Okay. I still think my Enchantress will go first, because she's just a little bit more crazy. And I think she's going to start by hurling a volley of green fireballs that crash into Amora and set her on fire.
Boom! Magic shield. Amora absorbs the fireballs with her magic shield, and then she's going to reshape that energy into magic tendrils that shoot out and wrap around Enchantress's arms and legs, just lifting her into midair and binding her there. And then Amora is going to use a time spell to age Enchantress centuries, like just turning her into this dusty old skeleton.
Okay, that's fine. This dusty skeleton, her eyes are going to glow green, and she's going to just like start cackling like an evil witch and grow to be like 4 stories tall so that she breaks free from her restraints. And then she's going to raise her arms up and summon this magical dust storm with particulate that's going to slice into Amora and prevent her from being able to see anything as well.
Okay. All right. So to block this magic dust storm, Amora is going to conjure up this magical mirror in front of her that's going to reflect the particulate that's being directed at her back at Enchantress tenfold, which is going to knock Enchantress to the ground and quells the storm. Then Amora is going to step into the mirror that she conjured, and the mirror vanishes with her inside of it.
Okay. Well, the magic that bombarded the giant skeleton Enchantress only empowered her because it was her own magic. So that's going to blow away the oldness and reveal the young, normal-sized Enchantress who, she doesn't see Amora anywhere. So, yeah, apparently Amora has left the battlefield, so I guess Enchantress wins.
That's what she wants you to think. Suddenly, Enchantress, she turns around and sees a reflection of herself in this other magical mirror that pops up next to her, and Enchantress just becomes transfixed with her own reflection, like Narcissus staring at the pool.
Okay, I see what you're doing here. Okay, Enchantress, she walks up to the mirror, approaching her reflection apprehensively, almost shyly at first. But then she and the reflection start to kiss, gently, but soon, like...
No. Before it even gets to that level of weirdness, Enchantress, paralyzed, we'll say, by her own reflection, she gets blasted in the face with a magic beam that shoots through the mirror, shattering the mirror and revealing Amora once again on the battlefield.
Okay. Enchantress, she's probably knocked to the ground. In fact, actually, she falls into the ground by turning herself intangible. And before Amora even has time to wonder where Enchantress went, this horde of netherworld spawn hands just burst from the ground beneath her and pull her down to the ground, where they just tear her apart.
Okay, I'm going to say that as the spawn pull Amora down into the ground, she's going to expel this bewitching spell that is going to put all of these netherworld spawn in her thrall. So as she gets back to her feet, this entire army rises up from the ground, just ready to kick some Enchantress ass.
Okay, but one of the spawn next to Amora isn't really a spawn. It's actually Enchantress in disguise, who is going to generate this green flaming dagger when Amora has her back turned to her, and Enchantress just stabs her from behind.
All right, well, Amora is no stranger to back shots, all right? And she detects this attack coming because her mystic senses see that one of the spawn isn't under her control. So she's going to expel her astral form from her body just in time, thereby evading Enchantress's magic blade. And in her astral form, she's going to fly into Enchantress's body and cause the Enchantress to just explode from within, leaving behind just June Moon on the battlefield. And then that's when Amora's spirit flies back into her body, magically healing it in the process.
Okay, no way that works. If anything, I'm going to say that with that act, Amora exorcises the succubus from June, but June is the only thing stopping the succubus from essentially taking over reality. So that's what the succubus does. She reforms her body from this dark cloud, and she's going to open this glowing green fissure beneath Amora, from which this magical green lava just explodes upward in this super volcano level blast that's just going to incinerate Amora completely. Match over.
Well, I guess Amora's dead. Yep, she's dead. Except, Enchantress sees her charred body. It's just an illusion. And when Enchantress approaches, the real Amora just grabs her arm from out of nowhere and plants a big old kissy kiss, smoochy smooch on her lips, basically confining Enchantress to a lifetime of servitude to the Asgardian goddess.
Okay, I mean, Enchantress is shocked by this at first, but as Amora's kiss lingers, Enchantress feels complete in a way that she never has before. And, after...
So you admit that Amora wins then?
Damn it. No.
All right. We'll go ahead and leave the match there. We'll say that either Enchantress blows up Amora in the super volcano magic blast, or Amora seduces Enchantress and turns her into her eternal slave. We'll see which of these scenarios happens by inputting the stats of these characters and running 1,000 simulations, and then coming back with a winner.
AJ9K, hit it.
Inputting data, running calculations, processing results, simulations complete.
Okay, this was a struggle for me stats-wise, because DC's Enchantress is definitely not the physical specimen that Marvel's Enchantress is, being that Marvel's Enchantress is Asgardian.
Right, yeah, just due to her natural physiology, Marvel's Enchantress has increased strength, increased durability, that the Enchantress really doesn't have. That being said, Enchantress, we said, was a better fighter than Marvel's Enchantress because she's actually gone to blows with Superman using her magical fists. Whereas Marvel's Enchantress, I don't think I've seen ever throw a punch. She usually prefers to have other people do the fighting for her. That's kind of the nature of her whole manipulation-based magic.
Right. When it came down to things like movement speed, evasiveness, perception, and even versatility, we said that they were pretty much equal.
Yeah, since they're both powerful sorceresses, they can essentially almost do anything due to the nature of their magic powers.
So taking all of the stats into consideration, Joseph, who do you think came out on top in this match?
I'm going to say Marvel's Enchantress, just due to her Asgardian physiology. We didn't run any polls on Instagram, but I think that if we did run a poll, our Instagram followers would have clearly shown a preference for Enchantress.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, definitely Enchantress. Well, I have the results right here. Let's find out who won. AG9K, the results, please.
Here you are, sir.
The winner of the matchup between Enchantress and Enchantress is Enchantress. She totally stomped Enchantress, winning 64.9% of the 1,000 matches. Enchantress, meanwhile, only won 35.1%.
I gotta say, I'm not too surprised that Enchantress won. I think I saw that coming from the get-go, which, depending on your perspective, you're either thrilled about or you think is a bummer. In the end, Enchantress just had too much going for her over Enchantress.
Well, I'm glad you agree. Actually, no, I don't. I hate it because it was Marvel's Enchantress that won.
I figured. Yeah, it was the Asgardian physiology that put her over the edge statistically, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And while you could say things like, strength stat doesn't matter to DC's Enchantress, who can essentially lift things through telekinesis, so can Marvel's Enchantress, right? So when they cancel each other out like that, you're just left with things like physical stats to go off of. And at the end of the day, Marvel's Enchantress just outclasses her in that regard.
I think what really hurt DC's Enchantress was actually June Moon, because when Enchantress is not tied to her host, she's insanely powerful. Like, she could defeat the entire Justice League level power, like Spectre level power. And I think in that mode, she's definitely powerful enough to take on Marvel's Enchantress. It's just that rarely happens in the comics, especially as June gains more and more control over the succubus entity. So you're lucky I counted for June in the stats, you son of a bitch. Otherwise, Enchantress would have won.
Enchantress never would have won.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Wait, what? All right, guys, that does it for this duel. Let us know what you thought about the results by writing to us at dynamicduelpodcast@gmail.com or by visiting us on Instagram or X. You can find links to all of our accounts by checking out our show notes or visiting our website at dynamicduel.com.
And on our site, you can also find a link to our Patreon page where you can join our Dynamic 2.0 tier and chat with us and fellow listeners, our Fantastic 4 tier, which gets you bonus content each month, our X-Force tier that makes you an executive producer of this podcast, or our newest tier that lets you join our Dynamike podcast network. If you can't join Patreon, you could still support the show by signing up for our e-newsletter, also at dynamicduel.com, so you'll never miss an episode.
And please don't forget, guys, to visit our website to leave a donation for Pop Culture Classroom, which will get you a digital poster of our upcoming charity duel episode in December. Alfred Pennyworth versus Edwin Jarvis. Again, Marvel's beating you DC guys out, so you should go to dynamicduel.com, go to the store, and donate.
Yeah, come on, DC guys, let's pump up our charitable giving stat.
For our episode next week, as we mentioned a few times, we will be reviewing Loki Season 2. I have only watched 2 episodes so far, but I'm going to finish out the rest. I've been trying to avoid all spoilers at all costs across the internet, and so I need to watch it immediately before something truly tragic gets spoiled for me.
Yeah, same. I've been seeing hints of stuff, but I'm just nope, get behind me, Satan, and just looking away.
But that does it for this episode, guys. We want to give a big thanks to our executive producers, Ken Johnson,
John Starosky,
Zachary Hepburn,
Dustyn Balcom,
Miggy Matanguihan,
Brendan Estergard,
Nathaniel Wagner,
Levi Yeaton,
Nick Abanto,
Austin Wesolowski,
AJ Dunkerley,
Scott Camacho,
Adam Speas,
and Andrew Schunk for helping to make this podcast possible. And we'll talk to you guys next week. Up, and away.
True believers.
Enchant, my eggplant.